Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the Rochester School Board, Rochester City Council Joint Building Committee meeting to order at 6 p.m. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to do so, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of our May 3rd, 2023 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
There being a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next thing is a non-public under RSA 91A3 2E.
So moved.
And a roll call.
Second, right?
Second.
Yeah, motion and a second. Roll call, Matt Bollier,
Aye.
Ann Grassi. Yes. Paul Lynch,
Yes.
Matt Pappas.
Yes.
Donald Hammond,
Yes.
and Alex.
Yes.
And Sarah, yes. All right, item 3 on the agenda is the selection of construction manager. I'd like to open a discussion. Paul.
After we reviewed everything, I spent some time looking at the packets again today and really trying to understand the features and the benefits and the qualities that each of these companies had. Point of order?
Mr. Lynch, sorry to interrupt. Just we ask the public to be quiet during our meeting so we can hear. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lynch.
After reviewing all the information, I think all of them are high-quality candidates. I think DEW has a real good relationship with Banwell. I think Harvey has a real great relationship with this, because they've been through the trenches with us already. I think Bowen's got an exceptional record, and you see what they did and achieved in a fantastic amount of time in Durham, right? Like, they all have benefits, but understanding the crucial timing that coincides with this, I'd be more inclined to lean to Harvey for a couple of reasons. One is size. We talked a lot about if they have to buy stuff early and sit on it. They have the space, the capital, the bonding, they can do all of that, right? We also talked about equipment, being able to have equipment. Like that's the one downside for me for Bowen specifically, is that they're a smaller outfit, so they don't have their own stuff. They have to bring it in. And yes, they're very good at scheduling and management. I think they're an exceptional team, but for me, it's really about that. And understanding the crucial efforts it takes to get stuff done quickly and effectively. We've seen it firsthand. We had some issues with shear walls at the high school that could have hung the project up, but the very dynamic and clean relationship we had with Harvey made that process simpler. We didn't jeopardize loss of funding. We didn't slow down the lead time on the building. They did a really nice job. It really hurt us in contingencies, but those are unseen items, right? You don't know that what says there till you open the wall, find out it's not there is a different problem. You can't put that on Harvey. It's just how it goes. It's part of being in construction. I think Harvey is the closest to the best match for us, personally, for that reason. And when you look at the fiscals, you're talking about a $30+ million building. It's not a big spend difference in them. So I really think that Harvey is the preferred for me.
Alex?
Yeah, I think that I was between Harvey and Bowen. Harvey being a known quantity, Bowen being, a little guy, and I've got a soft spot for the little guy. But I think ultimately, the timing of this, the importance of it, known quantity and experience wins the day for me. So I think I'm also leaning towards Harvey as well.
Well, before Paul, is there anyone else that would like to share, Matt?
So those are the same two that I've narrowed down to. I think that what is making me lean towards Bowen though is the feedback that we got from other districts. I know they talked about the family feel. I take that away. I mean, you can establish that with whoever is your team on construction sites, but no change orders, on time, always there, committed. Being at construction sites in the past where you're like, where is my super, where is this other factor? you have their full team's commitment. Obviously, smaller outfit, you don't have a lot of the extra pieces you're paying for, which gets our expertise to be involved, so that's where I'm leaning more towards Bound.
Don?
Yeah, I was leaning towards Harvey as well, just from the experience and the size and the fact that this is a time crunch for us. So I almost think, to my way of thinking anyway, it was a no-brainer that, because cost was not, it's apples to apples pretty much, so.
Ann?
I've been through a kitchen remodel, and I appreciate the fact that Harvey has the space and the ability to get materials that they know they're going to need and have them ready for when they need them. That was the push for me. I mean, it's a personal, living through a kitchen remodel where nothing comes when it's supposed to, and you're waiting for everything. We don't want to do that with a school. My family learned to live on the porch with the microwave and the toaster oven, but this is a school, this is different. We need to be quick so that we can take advantage of the state dollars and reduce the tax burden.
I'll chime in and say that I think 1 minute I'm with Bowen, the next minute I'm with Harvey, and it keeps going back and forth. I work in the district at the middle school that that Bowen's, creme de la creme building is located, and I'm going to be working in it next year. And I've been in that building, and it is absolutely beautiful and stunning. So I'm kind of looking at it that way, but then having been the chair of the JBC for the high school project, working with them, the next minute I'm back with Harvey, and given that, as Don said, our time crunch, we've got to get this done by a certain time. We've got to be able to sit on materials. I think for this project, I'm siding with Harvey, and I'm hoping that in the future we might be able to invite Bowen back, because I think that they deserve a shot, maybe in the future. So.
Paul?
I would like to see all three come back. I thought the presentations were fantastic. They all had things that were really attractive. And one of the big things that I'm going to be requesting is Harvey looks in that same software, that digital software they talked about where they can find the stuff. That to me is the way it should be going. Paper is no longer the mechanism for that process. So, working with Dan Well and the superintendent, Mr. Todd, to make sure Harvey can find out if they can get access to that software and what it will cost. Because it is one of the requests that I've been making, regardless if we choose DPW or Bowen or Harvey. The only thing I'll say is, I think that in respect to Mr. Hammond, the time is the problem, right? We need people who can get on board. And Mr. Toddy and the superintendent have worked with these people. That expeditious, that learning each other process is cut in half, right? That bell curve is, so it just makes it cleaner for us. So if I may, Madam Chair.
Can I share my thoughts?
100%.
So I, as many of you, was between Harvey and Bowen, but after a lot of consideration, I prefer Bowen, based on the relationships and the references that we got from the superintendents, how wonderful they were, and the change orders that stood out to me, that they had no change orders on that big project in Durham. And I believe that was during COVID, right, that they were dealing with that. And, talk about supply chain. If they were able to get that done during the hardest time for supply chain, my confidence is there that they'll get the necessary equipment when they need it. They've proven that through that project. There's something, I don't know, the smallness of it. I think you get a lot of attention when it's small. We'd probably be their biggest project at the time that they'd have going, and I feel like they're very attentive and they're there on site. Like you said, he's right there with the crew. He's doing things with the crew. He's not in the trailer, so when they do have a quick question or design question, hey, this is coming up, he's right there. That stood out to me. I just think the the level of customer service we'd be getting stood out to me. Yeah.
I think the part, and I know it's not a remodel of a school, but he was talking about the project they did in his own, that they would have the students involved. Sometimes contractors, not all of them are receptive to community involvement. We're gonna need a lot of feedback time on this. There was concerns, you know, we've heard some from the public. I think Bowen would be more able to really listen and with us as all partners with the community, the school board, the council, as well as, you know, a community that needs to make sure that everything's addressed. And I don't think that, from everything that we've heard, they're not gonna be a problem to come down here to help us after the fact. If there's like, hey, you know, that drainage that was going to here, well, there's a block and we need to go this way. Okay, let's jump on it. And I know they all would jump in a second, but the last thing I want is this happening in a construction project
Yeah.
and more, all right, let's get this together.
Yeah.
So that's where I am, kind of fresh would be helpful, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much evenly split. I think it's a really agonizing decision. I think we are, it's, I'm trying to think of the term, but it's, we are privileged to have such great choices here. I mean, I would honestly vote for either one. I think it's just which way is the majority leaning. Obviously, that's how it's gonna go, but we're not gonna go wrong either way.
I got a question. I understand that Bowen was working in Durham. They had no issues with purchasing materials during COVID. I find that hard to swallow because I was on the DPW
Yeah.
building thing, and I mean, we had problem after problem, and the contractor there was a big contractor, and you know, and getting things was a constant issue. I mean, they were projecting out 6 months, because we started just before COVID
Yeah.
started, but it became an issue. It didn't hold up the building at all. We ended up on time and under budget, and, you know, and it went well, but supply issues were a problem,
Who did you
especially
hire?
with steel.
Who made it?
It was Hutter.
Okay.
But you can't argue the results, right? I mean,
No,
at the end of the day, they got it done.
right.
And so
Yeah, right.
maybe they moved heaven and earth, and
Yeah.
that's their secret
So-
sauce, who knows?
Well, that, you know, I mean, if somebody didn't have a supply issue, of course, we insisted on All-American made for the DPW facility. I'm hoping the school does the same. Here, you know, we could have gotten some things that early, but it was imported from China, and we said no. So that's a whole other issue as well, you know. And we stipulated in the contract that it had to be American-made. So,
Paul?
Further along in this discussion, the weaker my choice gets, because I agree with Alex that there is no wrong choice. They're both exceptional candidates. My biggest struggle is just, yes, they're versatile, but, you know, Durham's an SB2. It's not the same rules we have here. So it's different structurally. So I think that Bowen did an exceptional job down there, but I think that the way we're going to watch this thing, and Harvey understands what we're watching, because they've done this with us already. I don't know, it's a tough call.
The other thing that I'm basing my decision on is just feeling. Like, I attended a lot of those JBC meetings for the CTE project, and I just, based on the presentation and the feelings I had sitting in those JBC meetings, I have a better feeling with Bowen, a partnership feeling, just more open communication based on, I worry about the finger pointing that happened throughout the last project.
And I think it's important to mention, the last project was La Valley Brensinger, this is Banwell, so we're talking about two different sets. Even though if we did decide to go with Harvey, it's the same construction team, but it's a different designing architect and firm, so it'd be hard, because I think that was a two-way street. Like
Yeah.
Mr. Boyer said, there was a lot of this, and I think it was from both sides. It was not exclusive to the contractor, so I don't want to disqualify them based on their relationship with the other architect, because we don't know what their relationship with Banwell is. We know that DEW has an exceptional relationship with Banwell, as has been well stated in their presentation and by Ingrid herself. And even though they had great stuff for us, they're not my top choice. So I don't want to lump Harvey into an uncomfortable situation based on something we can't measure against the new guy. You know what I mean? So that's all I would say to that.
Alex?
Just to add, though, that it is a data point that there was finger pointing. I mean, I was not involved, I don't have the experience, but it sounds like there was finger pointing. They were one party in that. I'm not saying that it's necessarily their fault, or that it was, one-sided or mutual, but the fact remains, there's that data point. But also, a counterpoint to Bowen, not necessarily to count against them, but because a few of us have commented about how beautiful Oyster River is and how great that's going. I mean, that's the architect, right? That's not the construction
Correct,
manager.
yeah.
Right.
So we can give them credit for being done on time, not having change orders, that great, close family feel and everything that we love about Bowen, but the actual design of the school itself, it's not really something that's necessarily on them, so.
I think the only thing that was really the connective tissue to the area, they both use the same subs, they have relationships with the same subs, and they're keeping it local, they both understand that's a priority for us, that was important to me. DEW working in the area doesn't seem to get as many of the Harveys or Bowen projects, which is fine, it doesn't disqualify them for me, but having a local guy here is kind of a benefit, and we know Harvey has those relationships, that's a big deal to me. And I'm not discrediting Bowen for that. They had to have them to get that school done. But I think that the relationship with the subs and managing material is something Harvey's proven that they can do effectively.
Anything else that anyone would like to add before we go to a vote? Or is there a motion? We need a motion first.
I'll make a motion, if I may. I would like to make a motion to award the contract, the construction manager to Harvey Construction.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There being a first and a second, is there discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, motion carries.
5-2, 4-2, 5-2.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2.
Fast math is killing me.
All right, next item is item 4, Clerk of the Works. Mr. Toddy.
So, just wanted to take a minute and talk about language for a brief moment. So, we have a school board policy that talks about hiring a clerk of the works. The DOE has a policy that talks about hiring an owner's project manager. And I will make sure everybody understands, these are the same things. The DOE policy talks about them providing language to define what the owner's project manager is or what the qualifications and responsibilities of that position are. That language hasn't been published and it doesn't look like it's forthcoming. So the DOE has informed us for the purposes of this project, we just need to name somebody the owner's project manager, and it will, so we're gonna use clerk of the works to satisfy school board policy, and we're gonna use that language interchangeably with owner's project manager to satisfy the DOE policy. We have a RFP/Q, request for proposals / qualifications, that just went up on the district website today, talking about the position that we're trying to fill, and we're asking for proposals from qualified people for that position. And I just wanna ask any members of the community, any members of the board, the council, or school board, if you know anybody You know, we just talked about local connections. We'd love to find somebody qualified close by that could handle this role. So that's out there, and we're looking for that, and hopefully we'll have something for you next time we meet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Toddy?
Is the clerk of the works, owner's representative, whatever we want to call it, is that, are there a lot of people out there that do that? Is that a common job?
No, it's pretty specialized.
Okay.
If you think about all of the people that are gonna be involved on this project, literally thousands of people, there's one who's gonna be qualified to do that. So it's not, you know, for every big public construction project, there's one clerk of the works. There's a team of architects, there's a team of engineers, you know, hundreds of carpenters, laborers, electricians. So it's pretty specialized. But we're part of the qualifications, there are probably somebody that has huge experience in construction or licensed engineers or will certainly percolate to the top of that list.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we've worked with probably half a dozen around the state of New Hampshire. There are some in New Hampshire, some in Vermont, some in Mass, and some in Maine. But getting one that's not a public school is really important because it's a totally different type of project.
And we've already worked with, I'm sorry, wait to jump on that. I've been working with Ingrid to get the list of people that they've worked with that do this kind of work, and we're sharing our proposal, our RFP directly out with them in hopes that we can get some interest there.
Paul?
Could you remind me who the clerk of the works was for this Rochester project?
Mr. Drapo, Dick Drapo, was the clerk of the works for East Rochester and for the CTE project.
He's a local guy, right?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Drapo's retired, but we can certainly reach in and find out.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Item 5 is recommendations for civil engineer.
So, the civil engineering process that we've been through so far, we selected Ty and Bond through a competitive RFP/RFQ process, and that was in February of this year. Respondents to our request included Ty and Bond, Norway Plains, and Fuss and O'Neill. And Ty and Bond was selected for a lot of the same things you just talked about in the CM, for their ability to get the job done in a timely fashion. One of the things we found very attractive about Ty and Bond was their ability to handle traffic studies, both in-house and they can sub it out. So they, you know, if they have it covered 2 different ways. We've heard a lot of concerns from the public about traffic, and I think the engineering around a traffic study up front is going to be an important part of this. Ty and Bond is the obvious choice to support us in that from the first decision that we made. So the language in the RFP, RFQ, and I can share the document with you if you like, I have copies I could hand out. It says that we're going to select a partner to get us through the civil engineering due diligence for site selection, and that it would be possible to extend that agreement so that that civil engineer who came on board for due diligence could join the team for design, development, and construction, and post-construction phases. So we just roll over with the same person. And that's what I'm asking for tonight, is for the JBC to either approve to continue the working relationship in place with Ty and Bond, or to direct us to go back out to bid.
Alex?
I'm just curious, I've only been on the city council for a little less than a year, but I'm the alternate representative for the council on the planning board. I see Norway Plains come through a lot.
Sure, so do I.
And I don't recall seeing Ty and Bond or Fuss and O'Neill. I'm just curious, what kind of relationship does the city have with them historically in terms of projects?
So Fuss and O'Neill I can't speak to. Norway Plains, obviously, they're right here in town, and we've done, of course, I do a lot of work with Norway Plains through other projects. And in a frank discussion with Norway Plains, what we were asking for in the time frame, they just couldn't staff it and get to it for the due diligence for the first part of it. And now the work's just gonna ramp up from there. So we may be a little bit beyond what they could handle at this point. They do absolutely fabulous work. I can't say enough good things about Norway Plains. Ty and Bond purchased, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, there's a Portsmouth-based civil engineering firm that has roots in the area for many, many years, and Ty and Bond, it was basically just a name change, so a lot of the people.
Appledore.
Appledore Engineering, thank you very much. So Appledore Engineering, which has roots in the area, is basically doing business now under the name Ty and Bond. So there are people there that know the area, know the ins and outs. I know the Lowe's Plaza that got built, I know Ty and Bond was involved with that. Any other projects in town I can't speak directly to, but I know they've been working in the area as Ty and Bond and as Appledore.
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Mr. Todd, if I could, I think Burdette, if you had any experience with time bond?
Yeah, we're working with both firms. Ty and Bond typically do mostly school work. Norway Plains, we're working with up in Wolfboro. We just did the hockey rink with them, and we're doing the Wolfboro Public Safety Building with them. So they're both good firms, but Ty and Bond has more experience, in my opinion, in schools.
I think another important note is that they've already started the work. We've been happy with their work thus far, and this would just continue the work in a progressive manner, so that's why we're asking you to support our recommendation.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Mr. Pappas.
I move that we continue our relationship with Ty and Bond for our project.
There being a first and second, is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item is architect's proposed community forum schedule.
Great. Hello, everyone. So can people read this or not really? Do you have it in your packets or no? No, okay. So I will, I guess, go through it over here. Can you see it over here better? Or,
I'll make some copies.
okay, yeah. So this is a typical preliminary schedule that we develop for schools. It's going to get populated with many more things. So this is kind of a big picture, and this is a draft. So we can change it. I'm here first to go through it with you, and any changes that we decide we want to make, we can do it. So at the very top with the asterisks, we have meetings, JBC meetings. I'm assuming we're meeting monthly, so we have a meeting every month. December, I said no because of all of the holidays, and it's a good breaking point because we'll be finishing our bidding documents hopefully then. And the next very important thing that we'd like to do, and we do with all schools, is to do public forums. And what those are, for people that don't know, is we invite all of the public, the neighbors, anyone that wants to come. We show where we are to date with the design, with the civil design, the traffic studies, the building design, and we ask for input so that the people are part of the solution and can come with constructive criticism and their wishes and wants. And from those forums, we'll take detailed meeting notes and write down every single idea, whether it's good, the bad, the ugly. And then we'll bring it back to this committee, if you aren't there, for your consideration. Because sometimes a lot of the communities come up with really good ideas during these that the design team and the committee haven't really thought of. So it's really important because this is a community asset, it's being paid for by tax dollars. We want everyone that can help. So we have suggested, right now is May, it's almost June, that we start with one in June. We won't have much done. We have a site we know, but that would really probably, June would be the site design kind of public forum. Then we would have one in July and then one in August. And the whole reason is the green bars are design, the blue here are estimate checks, and then the blue here is construction. So we want to try to front load these public meetings during our design development so that we get these ideas and thoughts early on so they can be in our budget. And then another important review is for the faculty, administration, everybody in the schools. So we hold meetings probably in the schools just so that we can go to the schools and make it easier for them. So we will do that. It's too early to do it before they leave for the summer. So we'll do that in September, right after they get back, to solicit their feedback too. So we are pretty much done with the programming of the school. We had to do that for the Department of Education application, so we're just, dotting the i's and crossing the t's on that. The construction manager you just did, so you're actually ahead of schedule here. And then what we do is get right into design development. So that is part of the design, so we go to a certain, it's about 35% finished design, and then we stop, we call it pencils down, so that we can actually have the construction manager put an estimate to that to make sure we know what the budget is, how does that compare to the DOE number, and if we need to make what we call value engineering or savings or cuts, we do it before the design is done. So all of our engineers and the civil engineers will be developing the plans as well, and then after we get the budget and we meet with you and we meet with the school board, if they want a special meeting separately with the school board, we get that approval, then we proceed to bidding documents. And we structured this so that we'd finish in the middle or the end of December, so we can go out to bid in January where it's the most advantageous time, we think, to bid things, because contractors are done for the winter, they're looking for the spring, but it's not too late in the spring, so we really want to hit that January, February timeframe. So we have the school board meetings here, and then we also want to meet with the local building inspector, the local fire department before we finish our design development to get any wishes and wants and code required items that they see in the plans. And then again, before we finalize our bidding documents, the same people as well as Department of Education, and we really should put the police department up here too, because we've been meeting with them as well. And then we also have state permits, so now that you have agreed to continue with time bond, we will augment this list of all the state permits, the AOT, DOT, any other state permits that we may need for this. So any thoughts, any changes, any additions, any questions? Sure.
Madam Chair.
Yep, Paul?
I see you have meetings for public forum June, July, and August. Indicated that the first site would be for the meeting design and forum. When would you anticipate showing the public what the school would look like?
So we really need to get the site orientation set first, because we have kind of two different building massings depending upon which way you want to go with the site. So June, if we could figure out which site design, then from June by the July forum we'll have something. It won't be a fully cooked design, but it will be internal layouts, and we already have a program. We've already done a layout. We didn't have a site, so it's just a block. So we just need to manipulate those features.
I think just a point of clarification for the group, like the program that Ingrid's referencing is what we put in the design application for the DOE. And so obviously square footage is one of those items, and then Ingrid and her team has taken that square footage and broke it down into, right now it's 3 classrooms per grade. So that's part of the program. Obviously there's a cafeteria, there's a gym. So those are parts of the program right now. Obviously as we get further with the site, that program and the design of that program will change based on layout. So that's where we need more feedback.
Yeah, Paul?
I just have one point that I think important for clarity, understanding that the beltway in the other building is going to be challenging. If we could have a similar model to the middle school where there's a large in and out, so all the buses and cars can get in off the road and out off the road. That'd be the only feedback I had in that regard.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Matt?
I see you have an October community forum. What would be the purpose of that one?
That really is to tell them, we're through design, through cost, and we're starting the bidding documents. So it's really keeping the community involved. It's not like we go through the summer and then we're not going to reach out to the community. Yeah, and we can hold more. It just depends on how the design unfolds and what the hot buttons are. And So this is just point in time, we can change this at each meeting, but this is kind of our roadmap to get to, okay, this is where we're bidding and construction starts and permits as well.
That's great, thank you. All right, item 7 is other. Does anyone have anything for other? Don?
Yeah, the city manager, not city manager, the mayor has sent me an email today because he couldn't be here tonight. And I think you were on it as well. And he wanted to make sure we had a discussion about doing a traffic study and how important that is. And one of his thoughts on the matter was maybe making it a right turn only in, or basically out. I think it'd be more important than the in. So I wanted to make sure that was brought up. I know I've been getting phone calls and comments where I've been around. People are very concerned about the traffic out there, so a traffic study is very important, and maybe take it to the city's TRG for the planning to make sure that we get that done right.
Yeah. Matt?
I completely agree with that, but I want to make it a very clear point. The school is not going to make that traffic any different than it already is. It's already crazy. It's already a problem now. I think this is just a good time to address it while concentration is in there.
And I think you're wrong here. I think it's gonna affect the traffic.
Well, I mean, yes, but I think it's already been a problem.
It's
That's what I'm
already a
getting
problem,
at.
I understand.
That's what I'm saying. It's already a problem, and I think we should address it anyways.
Yeah, I agree with that too, and I know that Mayor Callahan spoke with Blaine, our city manager, and to Kyle about involving the TRG, and I think that that's a great idea as well, because they can really look into the traffic concerns. And one thing I have for other, also from Mayor Callahan, is letting the public know that we did look at all city-owned properties. We've been at this for over 2 years, and we had a meeting in early 2022 where the city turned over all the city-owned parcels, and we reviewed those extensively, and none of them met the specifications to the project. So just wanted to clear that up. That came up last month in public comment, and we did certainly look at all of the city-owned land. Anything else under other, Alex?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, and I can't remember if I asked something similar last time, and I apologize if I did, but where are we posting agendas and minutes?
On our rochesterschools.com
Okay.
website.
I'm wondering if we also should be posting it on the city website as well, anywhere. I know it's on the calendar,
Yeah.
on the city calendar, but whether or not we should also be posting minutes or have a page.
Maybe we could ask them to paste it on, put the JBC committee under the committees section of the
Yeah,
city's
that's what I
website.
was thinking, under boards and commissions, we've got
Right.
all the other committees, so maybe we need a page for it there.
Even if it's just a pointer to the school
Yeah,
department.
Yeah.
just putting our link
Right.
where we have our agendas. Do you want to take that back to the
I-
city manager?
Yeah, I'll follow up with Blaine about that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else under other? I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I just want to publicly say, congratulations to Harvey to be our construction manager. I look forward to working with them and getting this project underway. All right, next item is public comment. Thank you for your patience. If anyone from the public would wish to address the committee.
You going up?
I am, whoever
Go,
wants.
you go ahead.
No, go for it. Are you going? Go.
Okay.
Please state your name, address, and limit your comment to 5 minutes.
Yes.
My name is Susan King. I live at 273 Eastern Ave. I come to you today because I am a 21-year resident of Rochester. I had a son who went through the Rochester School District. I was also a para in the schools for 12 and a half years, 7 years at Chamberlain and 5.5 years at East Rochester. And East Rochester being the newest school that was redone, I feel there are things we could have done better. And I will mention the major ones first. East Rochester has floor-to-ceiling glass by their classroom doors, which in this day and age I don't think is a great idea because of what we've experienced in this country. Another thing is we have rooms in East Rochester that have one entryway, one door going in and out. Very small rooms with no way to get out of that room except for that door. And also we have colored glass, which is beautiful, but in those small rooms, it makes it very, very hot. I think one of the major things is the playground. The playground is very small, and there are no swings, and any OT will tell you that swings are essential. As a para, when I had a student that I needed to give a break to, we went and used the swing in the OT room. That is something that is very important. Also, East Rochester has no real grassy area to run. We have the field, and I keep saying we because I feel like I'm still part of the community. They have the field up above, but there's no field in the playground. They need to run. They need that energy taken out. Other minor things, like the front door is on the side of the building. People are confused, parents are confused when they come, services are confused when they come. And I feel, and I say this, I'm not an interior designer, I do have an interior design background. There's a lot of wasted space. The high ceilings are beautiful, but I feel like so much more could have been done with that building. Another concern I have too, and it kind of veers off, but there was talk about taking the modulars away at Chamberlain and at Allen, and which is great because you would be closing down School Street and closing down Nancy Loud, but there are still going to be 5th grade classes at that, and I know at Chamberlain there is no classroom for 5th graders there, so I'm not really sure how that would work. And I love that there's going to be a public forum for people to speak. I love that you're going to talk to staff, if I understood that correctly, because one of the things I've learned when I was in school is that the first thing you want to do when you're designing a space is talk to the people who are going to be in that space day to day. What do they need? What is important to them? What would make their lives better if they could, even simple things like having a sink in every classroom. I know like the upper grades don't have sinks in their classrooms at ERS, and it would be great if they did, because they do craft projects. They need to wash their hands, especially this past, through the pandemic. It would have been great for them to be able to wash their hands right in the classroom and not have to go down the hall. I'm going to try and make those public forums if I can, but really, that's all I have to say. I just really want a lot of thought to go into the design, and I really would love it if everyone, like nurses, teachers, everyone, is spoken to about what they think is needed. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Would anyone else from the public like to address the committee? Hi. Please state your name, address, and limit your comment to 5 minutes.
Sure, my name is Barbara Priori. I live at 68 Ida Circle, directly off of Salmon Falls Road and behind where the new school is gonna go. So I just wanted to come and just address our concerns as a neighborhood. If anybody's familiar with that area, we're across from where Tower Estates is. And that curve is just a traffic nightmare at the moment, which I can't see, I mean, with, you know, school buses and children walking and, you know, the issues that's gonna result from having a school there. I was wondering what the traffic study, or have you had a traffic study done yet? There is environmental issues because they're on wetlands over there, and my understanding is that this piece of property was declined to build on in a prior, from the Army Corps of Engineers. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, and if so, if that's true, what has changed that they could build on that property? And my biggest concern is we're a new development, we're on a private road right now because the city hasn't adopted it yet. And there's an access road on in our development that supposedly is gonna be for utilities only. And if you go on any of the local websites, they're saying, the neighbors and the residents of Rochester are saying that they're gonna put the entrance or the exit to the school in the middle of our development. So I would just, those are my three main issues. So I'd like to hear what's planned or not planned from any one of you. Those are my concerns. So at present, so can anybody address any of these at the moment?
Not at the moment. During
No?
public comment, it's for you to speak.
And you can't address any of these concerns?
Well, we
Okay.
can at a later time, we certainly will.
Okay. No, I'm a fairly new resident of Rochester. We've been here about a year and a half, and we moved from Rockingham County to try to be in a more rural country environment, and weren't really counting on having a school in our backyard. I mean, I understand the need for schools, and but the concern with traffic and environmental, is it gonna raise our water table? We're on very wet property as it is, and the neighbors have had issues with drainage, and so we've got a bunch of concerns. And you know, when I bought here, I had no idea that we were gonna have school in our backyard. But that road is a mess now, and it's just gonna get worse. The traffic, I mean, we can't even go out, the Ida Circle goes like a U, and we have to go on the other side to get out, in and out of our property, because if we try to get out where Tower Estates is directly across, we can't get out, and it's an accident waiting to happen. So I would hope that, you know, that they're gonna really study the way the traffic's gonna impact, because it's bad now, and with school buses and children walking, and that curve there is a blind curve as well, and the school would be right at the end of that blind curve. So there's some issues I would love to hear in the future, you know, as to what you're gonna do to address them. So that's my 2 cents worth for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Darlene Morris, legally, D, you can call me D, that would be nice. I came to your last meeting, and I I asked a lot of questions, and I know I did, but I asked questions that I thought were fair. And so, having said that, I wanted to share with you what I just experienced with the very minimal amount of rain that we had the last time, not just a few days ago, and what the property in that area is already like, and how low you can go before you're hitting water already. And that's with my house up very high off the ground, as most of the houses in our development are. I had planted down a fence line, a very expensive vinyl fence. I put in almost 10 grand. I put in a fence and found out the first time that we had substantial rain or snow melt that I was going to end up losing my fence due to soil erosion from the water. Outside in my front area where the runoff is from the street, they dug to put in a trench and hit groundwater that's permanently there. It's never going away. And the city's trying to address it now on how they're gonna get the developer to fix it, because nobody has any idea. And part of the problem was that the people that, on the planning board that were there when this project was approved aren't here anymore. And so now you've got a whole planning board that's trying to deal with a project that was approved 5 years ago that the as-bills don't match up to, and the engineering doesn't match up to what the land could really do. And so now we've got a permanent pond that never drains. We've got mosquito issues, we've got frogs, we've got wildlife, you name it, we've got it. And the town's never gonna adopt our road because guess what? It was built, the builder says, to the as-bills. And now the town is having an issue because it won't drain. And anybody that's on the planning board, they're out there constantly looking at how they're gonna fix this, because it's pretty unfixable. So I'd like to share with you on my phone, and you can just pass it around, what my fence line looks like. It's a quick little video, and it's a 3 foot wide trench, 3 feet deep, 2 feet wide, sorry. It's a river. That's 3 feet into the ground.
You have to restrain.
3 feet into the ground, you have water that doesn't drain. This land was all looked at, next door where you're gonna build the school. It was looked at by the Army Corps of Engineers when they wanted to put a trailer park there, and our councilman can attest to that, because he used to live there. And it was turned down by the Army Corps of Engineers and said it was unbuildable. And it's unbuildable because our water table is literally 3 feet. So your contractors were talking about piers, building things on piers, because the soil's unstable. The soil's unstable. You have fingers, I heard, of wetlands. You're gonna have so many cost overruns, it's not even gonna be funny. You're gonna have drainage issues you're never gonna get rid of. I understand that the town has no other properties to look at. This is a poor, poor choice. My fear is you're gonna get into this, it's gonna be a nightmare, because just as our property is at our development, 50% or more of us, maybe more, can attest to all of our yards are lakes every time it rains. And it doesn't have to rain a lot. So my question to you the last time I was here was, what are you gonna do with the runoff from the roads that have to go in there, the parking lots? How are you gonna protect the wetlands? How are you gonna treat the runoff? Where is it gonna go? We're already flooded. Where are you gonna add to our problem? Where's the water going? The little, I have pictures of frogs that are in my front yard. I have water rats, swamp rats they call them, that live underneath my driveway ducts because it never drains. So might be like the school needs a school. Everybody gets that. But it's not a good place to build a school, and I imagine if the Army Corps of Engineers turned it down for a trailer park 20 years ago, land doesn't change. It doesn't. So before you go sticking a huge amount of money, now you're 250 grand into it, what happens when you find out that the infrastructure and the cost overruns are immense and you can't afford to build this school because the taxpayers aren't going to like a bill of about $70 million? And where's the infrastructure to get children down Salmon Falls roads? There's a lot to be said here. It's not just about a traffic study, and I'm not here just to rock your boat and make your life miserable. But we all are heavily invested, some of us $500,000 on homes that we're already dealing with enough. and you're asking us to take more. And I don't think that's where none of us really appreciate what you want to do. You got a great piece of land, you think at a cheap price. Well, sometimes things are not as often as they appear, sometimes things are too good to be true. That piece of land is too good to be true. You paid a great price for it, you're getting a big white elephant. And when it comes time to vote for approval for funds, I'm not gonna vote for it. And I don't think a lot of other people will, when they find out what it's gonna cost.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Would anyone else from the public like to address the committee? Okay, there being none, I'll close public comment. Okay.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.